Joinery, myself and my partner, Mr. Walker, over here. So, when we start this, there's a couple things that we need to make sure that we have. And you saw at the beginning of this demonstration some of the tools that we're going to use for this. Make sure you take a look at those and you understand what their description is and how they're going to be used. We'll go over them again as we go through this process. So here's an example of a table that's partly assembled, and here's an example of a leg and a rail. So here you see this leg, and these here are the pocket holes that we've drilled to attach the rail to the leg and the rail to the tabletop. This is another example. I'll turn this around so you can see this. This is another example of a table with a shelf that has the rails with the pocket holes drilled in them. This one has the screws attached to the legs, obviously not to the top. This here is the top that will go on the table once it's completed and be screwed up through the pocket holes into your tabletop. That way you don't have any holes down through your top that you have to plug and seal so you wouldn't see the screws. So what's the process used to make these pocket holes and the joinery come together? Well, we have a variety of tools that we use. This is the pocket hole jig. Okay, this is preset, so you don't have to set anything or change anything on here. There's a few different styles. We have this one and this one that we use. There's also another one that sometimes is out here that is silver, but it's also preset with these. Okay? So you will need one of these. If it is not already set up for you to use, you're going to need to get one of these out of the brown toolbox, as well as a C-clamp from the back. The C-clamps we also went over during the glue-up process. So the first thing you're going to need is this and the C-clamp. And you're going to want to attach this to the bench so that this toggle handle is off the bench. Because some of them, like I said, are different. So get in the habit of making sure that this toggle is off the bench. Take your C-clamp. You want to put your C-clamp just behind this plunger, because if you don't and you put it up here, then when you go to close this, it hits, and obviously you can't put your rail in there. So you're going to want to make sure you put it back here, tighten this clamp like this. Now that's set to put our rail in. Okay. Now, our rail. You have short rails and long rails for your table, unless your table is square. Here is the rail, one of the rails for my table. The first thing you're going to do when you are set, you have your table and you're getting set up, is you need to determine what is your outside face and your inside face. You want your outside face to be the best looking one. We talked about grain and color of the board. I'm going to choose this one as my outside face. I'm going to put a light X on it so I know that that's the outside. You could put the X on the inside too if you chose. But I'm going to use this as my outside. You could write out on there too so you don't forget if you want to do that. Okay? And we can sand that off lightly later. All right. Now, this is a combination square. You're going to use the combination square to do your layout so you know where you're going to drill your holes. So, the way this works is when you go get it out of the cabinet, it could be set anywhere on here. Right now, it's tight. You can't move it. You need to turn this little thumb screw just about a turn, and then this will slide anywhere you want it. You want it at an inch. Tighten this thumb screw back down. And now you have this set to lay out the pocket holes. So this is my outside face. I'm going to put this down here like this. Now, you can do one of two things. You can put a mat down on the table. You can have someone, many of you will be working around here, you and your classmates, you can have someone help you hold this. Or you can put this against an object so when you slide the square on here, it doesn't move. So what we're going to do, we have this preset to an inch. We're going to put this on our rail. Put the pencil in the middle of this combination square, and you're going to drag your line straight down. And then your pencil breaks. Now you want to get in the habit of going just past halfway. So if I ballparked halfway on here, I'm right here, both my lines go past that. That's because when you go to line this up in the pocket hole jig, you can see there is a center line right here that outlines where the center of this hole is going to be. So what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this line and line this up so that this line is in line with this mark on the jig. Once you have that there, you come back to the back side of the jig, you push this handle up, clamp it down. Now, if you realize that you have to clamp this down too much, that means that this has moved. So if you really have to put a lot of effort into it, then what can happen is, if you see this, if you zoom in really carefully, you can see how this caused, right here, a small dent in the wood. That's because this acts like a suction cup. So you want to be careful. You might want to check it with a piece of scrap wood first to make sure that it's not too tight. If it is, what you want to do is you want to loosen this nut and screw this in, which is counterclockwise, just a little bit, and try it again. There we go. Okay. So, we talked about setting up the pocket jig on the bench. We've talked about selecting the face of our rail. We talked and showed how to lay that out at 1-inch intervals. Now we're going to talk about the bit. There's several of these bits that are located in the festool drawer, which is the green, actually it's more gray with green highlights like this drill, over by all of the other hand tools. Okay, so this is the pocket hole jig. Now the interesting thing about, the pocket hole bit. The interesting thing about this bit is that on the top of these are shoulders which drills a flat hole like this. So you see in here, there's a flat hole. The top of that hole down here is flat. That allows the head of the screw to sit in so it doesn't stick out. So this is the bit, this is the drill that you use. You should use the festool drills. They have a little bit more power than some of the Bosch drills. So if you're feeling like when you drill your hole, it's not drilling hard enough, then use a festool drill. The Bosch drills do work okay, but if the battery's a little worn down, you may want to check on that. Now, how to put this in. So here's our drill. This is the forward and reverse button right here. So when you get this drill, it could be in forward, it could be in reverse, it might be in the middle, which means when you pull this trigger, nothing happens. So depending on where these jaws are, right now, they're too closed down, too small to put this bit in. It doesn't fit. So what I need to do is I need to hold this with my hand. I want to put this in reverse, and I want to squeeze this slowly. You can watch those open up. Okay, now I know that that's open. I take this bit, I put it in here. Oh, doesn't quite fit. A little bit more. Put this in here. Now I hold this bit with these two fingers, and I take these other fingers and I wrap them around here, and I hold this tight. I put the drill in forward, and I squeeze very gently till it catches. Now you can see it's caught because this bit's turning. I hold this very hard, and I give it one more little turn. That locks the bit into the drill. So now I'm ready to go. Mr. Walker and I have this preset I should say, so you can't drill too deep into your rail. All right. Now, understand when you drill into your rail, I'll show you this. So here is a hole that we drilled, right? So the rail is set like this on the jig, and we drill down into it. You see, here's the hole with the center hole where the screw is going to go. If you look here, there's no through holes. In other words, this hole hasn't been drilled through the end. Okay? So drill a hole, and if you notice that it's drilling through here, something has been changed. So you want to get your teacher and have them check it. Okay? Now, I'm set up to drill. I have my rail in there. I have my drill. Remember, you have to remember, there's several holes on these jigs. So this one has 3, This one has 3. The other one only, I believe, has 2. So you want to make sure you remember, I set my line up with this center line hole. So I'm going to drill in that hole. Now, these are sleeves, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the bit in there. So it sits in there like this. So you're going to want to put it in. You're going to want to pull it back a little bit. Put your other hand on the drill and start the drill spinning, okay? And then once it's spinning, you want to plunge down into it. It looks like this. So I put it in, pull it back, turn it on, plunge it down and pull it out. Okay, let's take a look and see what that looks like. Okay. Tap the sawdust out of there. Now here's my hole. It's not drilled to the end, so I know that I'm ready to go. You're going to want to continue, and you're going to want to drill holes on this line. I did not draw my other lines on the end, but I can. Again, put it right in the middle. Draw your line straight down. And then, if you want to challenge yourself, turn this square over. Draw with your other hand. Okay. Now I can put this back in there, so you're going to have 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do those 4 holes so you get a complete picture of what we're doing. The other thing is, that's really important is, you notice I didn't set this over here. What do you think would happen if I set this there? There's going to be a number of people working around here. Someone bumps into the bench or bumps into the drill. This could fall down. Someone standing close, the bit could hit them, which could hurt them, or the bit could break. So when I set this down, I set it in the middle of the bench, or it's even good practice to lay it down. That way you don't have it fall. Oh, the other important thing is you can see right here after I drilled my holes, sawdust begins to build up right here. So what you're going to want to do is just blow that out of there. Because if it builds up in there, now you're changing the angle when you drill this, which could lead to problems down the road. So now, let's drill my last hole. Now, inevitably what happens, one of the other reasons I mark this on my outside is because inevitably what happens, and it's happened to many of us, I suppose, is that you end up drilling 2 holes on this side, and then when you go to drill on your other end, you flip it over and drill on the other end. Well, what's the problem with that? Now you have 2 holes on one face and 2 holes on the other face. And that's a problem when you go to assemble your table. You have to rebuild the whole rail. Now, I only need 2 more holes, and I'm only going to use 2 because this rail is fairly short. This rail is longer. That's about the longest distance, about 1 foot where you don't want a pocket hole. I believe it recommends about every 6 inches. I could put another one in this rail, I just didn't do that. So here, now this isn't too critical that they be exact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen my thumb screw again. I'm going to slide this back so that I know I have longer than the width of this rail. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line right on the end of the pocket holes. One on that side and one on this side. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to put the rail down this way. Now, some of you may have laid out an arch on here. I'll do my best here to draw an arch. So here's an arch. Now you need to take into consideration, if you're going to have an arch on your table, where your pocket holes are laid out. So if this is my arch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this right here. Right, that's where my arch ends. I'm going to show you where that ends. So I'm going to draw a straight line across my rail. And I'm going to show you that right now that arch slightly runs into this pocket hole. Okay? Now, I want to make sure when I do this that that, for the most part right now, won't cause you too many problems. You may need to shorten that arch, or one thing that you're definitely going to need to make sure of is that you don't drill these on the wrong side. So if I'm going to have an arch on this edge here, I don't want to drill my pocket holes going this way. I want to drill my pocket holes going this way. So if you have some kind of imperfection or your arch is already laid out on your board, then you're going to want to make sure you have acknowledged where you're going to put those so you don't drill the wrong way. So I'm going to put my arch on that face here, so I'm going to make sure I drill this way. So I'm going to put this down, line that up, drill my hole. Sometimes you get a little sawdust buildup in there. You can just brush it out of there. Be careful, that's sharp. And it may be hot too if you've been using it consistently, so be aware of that. And here's my 6 holes. 2 on each end, 2 that go up to screw the tabletop on. Here's the outside. I marked it with an out, I marked it with an X, and I have my arch laid out. There'll be more on how to lay this arch out in distances later in another episode. Thank you. Enjoy your pocket hole experience.